Hurricane Florence was one of the most powerful storms ever to hit the Carolinas, one of the most powerful and devastating storms ever to hit our country. To all those impacted by this terrible storm, our entire American family is with you and ready to help, and you will recover.
Broadcasting from Charlotte, North Carolina, the Queen City, this is On the Air with Deplorable Pride. Tune in at ontheairwithdeplorablepride.org every Wednesday, a conservative LGBT talk show. We are your voice. Here's your host, Brian Talbert and Chris O'Shea.
And we're back for yet another episode of On the Air with Deplorable Pride. Today is Wednesday, September the 19th, 2018. My name's Chris O'Shea with Carolinas for Trump, here with Brian Talbert. Brian, what's going on?
Not much, just dealing with the aftermath of the hurricane.
So you're about 45 minutes outside of Charlotte. How did things affect you where you're at?
The schools are closed still today.
Lucky kids.
Yeah, a lot of the bridges. Even though there's a lot of hills around in this area, the water runs down those hills and gathers at the bottom, and there's a lot of low-lying bridges. I know for sure 10 bridges that are completely gone here in Stanley County. There's right across the street is a one-lane bridge near me, and it has been compromised. And there's parts of the roadway that you can just see the water just peeled the pavement off. You can just see it goes from pavement to just like a little bare dirt area, and then pavement again. It just washed it away. So, and we're expecting the crest of the rivers to be tonight, I believe. And right now, they're already some rivers are already 10 feet above the historic flood level that was said during Matthew. A lot of people are saying this is far, far worse than Matthew.
It's crazy. I was lucky, I guess, the part of Charlotte that I live in. We lost power for about 18 hours the very first day, like right before the actual storm hit us. And we were out of power for, like I said, about 18 hours, but came back on. It was a tree that fell down over the power lines at the end of my street, so it only affected one little section of my neighborhood.
I was kind of worried about you with that. I don't know what it is. Is it like a pond right there at the end of your road?
Yeah, there's a little lake at the end of my road, and I wasn't quite sure what to expect because, it's not that much lower than the road, the level of the road. But honestly, it was there was no flooding, no major issues. When the main part of the storm actually hit this area, which I think was Saturday night or something.
Yeah.
I was surprised in a way. I wasn't disappointed. I'm very grateful that things didn't end up worse than they were, but I had done all the prepping, gone to the food line and bought all the canned goods and bottled water, and I was prepared to be without power for a week. And after we had talked last week and you were telling me about the after effects of Hurricane Hugo back in '89, where Charlotte was without power for 2 weeks, and it was just complete devastation. I guess it was the way that it was all hyped up. And even though I was skeptical,
it really wasn't. I don't really think it was hyped up because people actually in this area, like with Hugo, we got to see the actual effects of what a hurricane would be like if Charlotte was on the coast. We got the wind, the rain, and all that. It was a Category 1 hurricane when it came through. This one, we got to see the number one killer of a hurricane when it came through Charlotte, and that is the flooding. And people saw that the wind wasn't all that bad and everything. It was taking down a few trees and everything, but as for our remnants of a hurricane, the winds weren't that bad at all. But then you saw the rains. The rain stalled on top of us, and it was just rain after rain after rain. And then as it moved up toward the mountains, all that rain, that same rain that fell on top of us, it fell in the mountains, and it went right back down through the streams. And it actually got us twice. So people got to see the flooding part of the hurricane with this one.
And again, I don't want to sound like I'm insensitive or ungrateful or whatever, but I didn't get to see any of it, man. Yeah, that lake at the end of the road, I was expecting the road to be underwater and not to be able to get out of the neighborhood that way. And it rained on and off, like in the part of Charlotte that I'm in. And I know that other parts of the state and even other parts of Charlotte got hit a lot worse.
I started seeing the stream go through my side yard, and I was like, I started seeing all these closings and everything, and power outages, stuff like that. And I just couldn't see it that bad outside. And other than a little bit of water gathering at the bottom of my property, but it was like I didn't realize how bad it had gotten. 3 out of the 4 roads leading out from my house were completely blocked by water. So that put a little bit of perspective on it for me. Even though I couldn't see the danger out there, the very next day you got to see it in the paper and everything and on the news, and you got to see how close we did come to. We were very lucky here.
Well, I guess North Charlotte was extremely lucky. If I hadn't seen the pictures online and heard from other people on Facebook and whatnot, I would have just thought it was just another rainy weekend with nothing really noteworthy. But I know that other parts of the state, especially out towards the coast and Wilmington, I've got family out there, and even in Fayetteville, I've got some friends that live in that area, and I know that they got really screwed.
Lumberton just had a dam
exactly
break yesterday, and flooded parts of the city. There's another dam up in Rowan County that's in jeopardy of breaking as well. That goes into the PD River and goes down to Rocky River. So there's a lot of homes on that area. If that dam was to break, I think they're talking about 300 or 400 people might have to be evacuated out of there in eastern Rowan County.
That's nuts.
President
Trump's in town. He's touring the devastation.
He's down at Cherry Point right now. I just saw him on TV talking with the governor, and the governor actually gave the president praise. Senator Richard Burr was also commenting at the 25 years he's been in elected office that this is the most well prepared that he has ever seen the federal government for any national disaster for this state. So President Trump not only was instrumental in the beginning, we had staging areas set up in Charlotte, Raleigh, Greensboro, all with trucks and stuff ready to go in. It was, you had to wait for the storm to finish before you could go in, but they were all here ready, waiting. And as soon as the winds died down and the rain stopped, the troops were the trucks were ready to go in.
Well, I'm glad things worked out the way they did here in Charlotte. I feel bad for people who are less fortunate and have to deal with flooding and destruction.
Just seeing the interstate. I don't know if you've seen that one picture of Interstate 40 going into Wilmington.
I did.
Unbelievable. It looked like the Mississippi River, and the only thing that could let you know that it was an interstate was seeing the occasional I-40 sign sticking up out of the water. It was an amazing sight.
Now you're older than I am. Do you remember back in the 60s they made that car called the Amphicar? It was like a boat that you could drive on the street.
I may be older than you, but I'm not that old. That older. I was born in. I only lived 2 months in the 1960s.
But obviously you've seen. I mean, just sheer numbers. You've probably seen more cars than I have, and you've been around longer. So, but I always think when I see pictures like that it would be awesome to have one of those Amphicars where you can just drive down the road and then turn the outboard motor or whatever it is, the boat motor on. And
I was just actually watching a video the other day of an RV that is like that.
Speaking of RVs, I sent you a picture yesterday of that RV with all the Trump flags and banners and stuff. This is something we'll have to discuss off the air, but I'm thinking for 2020, we need to do something like that.
Was that here in North Carolina?
No, I've got no idea. I saw that on Reddit somewhere. Someone posted it in the Donald subreddit. And it was just an RV just covered, plastered with Donald Trump stickers and flags. And I think there was a cardboard cutout like the one that you've got, taped to the back or attached to the back. Just hardcore. Like, I mean, we've got people in Charlotte that
that's a rolling target right there.
Well, certainly it's a target, but you can really mess with something like that. I mean,
yeah.
Well, anyway, so we covered the storm. This Saturday is the rescheduled roadside rally we're doing in Indian Trail. I just checked the weather. It looks like it's going to be sunny and probably a little bit hot in the mid to upper 80s. And it's also going to be the rescheduled National Day of Action for the Mecklenburg and Union County GOP. And I'm sure beyond that as well. I think they're doing a hurricane relief drive at the same time, but I assume they'll be out there knocking on doors and making phone calls. And we're going to be doing the roadside rally. And then I think we've got some voter registration forms that we're going to be delivering. We're going to be building teams at the rally and going out to get people voter registration forms who are not already registered and are likely to vote for Republicans, because the registration deadline in North Carolina, I believe, is October the 12th. So we're coming up on less than a month, and the election obviously is November 6th. So we're down to the last several weeks before the midterm election. What are your thoughts about the roadside rally and the National Day of Action?
The roadside rally, I'm looking forward to this one in Indian Trail. It's a very Trump-friendly area, very conservative. But you also get a lot of traffic that's coming in from like different areas of the state, because Highway 74 is a main thoroughfare through this area. But I'm looking for a major positive response at this particular location. I used to live like 2 blocks up the street from here. So I know this area pretty well. So we should get a pretty good reaction from the people on the road. National Day of Action, I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to helping out the GOP and keeping keeping our districts red here in North Carolina. The GOP, we about a month ago we sat and talked with the RNC and how we can build bridges with the GOP and the LGBT community. And this is our way of contributing to that, showing that the LGBT community is willing to get out there, roll our hands up, do what we can to get Republicans elected into office. And, it's looking forward to a good partnership here.
Yeah, it'll be a good thing to get out there, especially after we were all cooped up for the last weekend because of the storm.
Yes, I'm definitely ready to get out there and hang out with some other MAGA patriots.
Yep. And in the morning, we're going to be doing our breakfast meetup in Matthews. For anyone who's in the Charlotte area, you can find out more on our Facebook page at Caroliners for Trump. I believe deplorablepride.org is also an organizer for that event, so you can find it on that page as well. And that'll be a good opportunity to just kind of sit and hang out and have some breakfast and coffee. And
if you've got some ideas, you want to come by, join us for breakfast. You can't necessarily come to the roadside rally. If you want to just come join us for breakfast, we're going to be bouncing ideas off each other for future events. If you got ideas for locations, just bring your ideas, let us know. And I know, being as that we got 3 events there, and there's another little surprise that I've been holding on to that I figured we would all discuss it while we were at the roadside rally. But Saturday is also Bill Maher. Bill Maher is in town. He's going to be right down the road from us. Starts at 8:00. I thought maybe it'd be something we could all discuss and possibly invest in an hour outside, because he's made some pretty controversial statements regarding patriotism this week on his HBO show. That he wants to know why we even play national anthem at sporting events, is mixing he's called it our patriotism crap, putting it into the sports. And anybody who claims to be a proud American is going to sit there and call our national anthem a patriotic crap, deserves to have a picket line at every damn place that he ever tries to stand up in any city. And the reason we got people, it's like I posted earlier on Facebook, the reason we got people like this thinking that it's all right to mock people, Christians, conservatives, patriots, is because these Christian conservatives and patriots, we don't stand up and defend ourselves. We're not, and if we can't depend on us to stand up and defend our own names, then how the hell can we expect them to stop criticizing us and everything, But that's something that we can discuss at the Roadside Rally if we get enough people and go invest an hour outside of Ovens Auditorium. That would also be a perfect location, is right there on Independence Boulevard, right there at Briar Creek. Heavy traffic. So a lot of people would see us out there. Our signs, we can make some signs, be very, get a message across, let them know what we're out there for because of him. It's something to think about as well, to see how the group thinks about it.
So I guess that'll be a continuation of the, we'll have to come up with a clever nickname for these events, but I know that you organized the Kathy Griffin protest.
Yeah.
That was a few months ago.
That turned out to be a pretty good gathering that day as well. And we also got to interact with some of the people that were going in to see her, so made for some pretty good video.
We need to make sure that whoever is in charge of the video, if I'm not able to be there, we need to make sure that they're recording all the time, not just for a few minutes.
Oh yeah. You never know when the liberals going to strike.
Got to always be ready.
Mm-hmm.
So, that reminds me of the when I was in Cub Scouts. It was like always be prepared, or whatever their little slogan thing is.
Always be prepared, Samantha, I think.
Well, this is again going back to what we were discussing before with the storm. When the power was out, I went to the local Panera Bread for lunch because they had power, and obviously you could bring a laptop and set up and do a little bit of work. And I noticed on the billboard outside of the men's room, there was a flyer for the Cub Scouts. And that was one of those things. And this has nothing to do with anything we've talked about really, other than be prepared theme. I didn't realize that's real. They've just completely gotten rid of the whole Boy Scout thing. Now it's just anyone who wants to join, come on in.
I think isn't this the first year they've had males and females joining.
I think so.
So now we're gonna about a year later, we're gonna start seeing some repercussions of all that. We're gonna you don't get males and females together and something not happen.
Well, my concern is even that I don't have skin in the game. I don't have any kids. I quit the Cub Scouts. I was probably 4th grade, 5th grade, something like that, right before Boy Scouts. It was fun doing a little Pinewood Derby with the little race cars going down the track and hanging out with friends and stuff. But that's not my sort of thing. But I do think that this whole notion that there's no difference between girls and boys, and that we're all
of the American male, and for some reason it is vilified for young boys to want to become men. It's disgusting, actually. In my opinion, that's what leads down the road to men not having the responsibility to stick around for their babies that they create. We're not teaching men. We're not teaching boys how to become men and take care of their families. And we're teaching them that it's all right for them to be just like the girl. We're empowering the girl, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm all for teaching a woman and a girl that she has just as much power as a man, and that she can do anything that a man can do.
Well,
I believe that a woman should have every opportunity as a man, and her sex should not hold her back from trying to achieve any goal that a man is going to. But to force that,
men and women are not exactly the same. That's the part that gets me, is that there are differences, and
there are differences. I do believe men are stronger than women, but physically, I mean, that's just there's a reason why our feet grow bigger, our bodies grow bigger, and stuff like that. But to tell a woman just because she's a woman that she can't achieve any goal that a man has done is just wrong.
I agree.
That's like something I've dealt with. In the religion part, my mother had been told that women were to be silent in the church, and that's the way the old Southern Baptist was, and that a woman could never be a preacher. Her job was to be the wife to the man, and I'm like, don't ever listen to any preacher that's ever going to tell you that God cannot call you to preach the same as he could call a man. Just like a woman can be president, a woman can achieve anything that a man can achieve. It's not always about brute strength. Of course, men are stronger, but when it comes to education and everything, women are just as smart as any man. I don't even know how I got over on that subject.
Yeah, I mean that's not even that's not even an argument there. I mean that's just I think we both agree on that. But the fact that the society is trying to do away with things like the Cub Scouts, and I mean there's the Cub Scouts and there's like the Brownie Scouts or whatever, which is for the girls, and I don't know. I mean, like, I never went to college like this. I mean, but fraternities and sororities, like, it's supposed to be for the dudes and the chicks. Are they going to start crossing over there too? And like, if a dude wants to join a sorority, like, they got to accept.
Boys have got to be around other little boys in order to. I mean, there's just certain things that boys have got to learn from other boys, and that's what teaches these young boys into becoming men. The same thing with the women. The girls have got to be there's got to be a place for girls to be around other girls and for them to learn that way. And that's what turns them into productive women. And for us to sit here and mix the sexes, and at that age when there's male bonding and female bonding is a very important, very, very important tool in your young adolescence. And we're robbing children of that now. In my opinion, it's a form of child abuse. That's the reason you've got just like this little drag kid I don't even know what his name is. But he's now all of a sudden some hero inside the LGBT community that he's 8 years old or 9 years old, something like that, and he's a drag kid. He dresses up like a drag queen, and this is acceptable. It is not acceptable. This is wrong, and this is, in my opinion, I'm a proud member of the gay community. But this, in my opinion, is a form of child abuse. Well, there's a reason why we don't allow children to vote. We don't allow children to make their own decisions in life until they get to certain ages, because the human brain does not stop developing until the age of 23. And of course, I don't care. You can take the straightest redneck of them all, and you can put them at a certain age in their life that they would have chose to put on a wig, a dress, a big old hat, and walk around like that. And that's totally socially acceptable. It is totally socially acceptable at that age. But to force that on someone and tell them that is, it's all right for you to be a woman of course it is if the person wants to change their sex. But at making that age, making that decision and thinking that an 8 or 9 year old, 10-year-old can make that decision for themselves is child abuse, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's that's just one more example of the to the far extreme to which things have been taken, and I think it does a disservice to the LGBT community. It reminds me stuff like that. It
reminds me of when I was in kindergarten. I still have memories, even though it was back in the ancient cave fire days. But I remember being in kindergarten, and there was I grew up in a poor area of North Carolina. We people would donate clothes and big funny hats and stuff like that, overalls and stuff like that. And when we had our playtime and stuff, we could go and we could get into all the stuff that was donated. We could like dress up and have like dress up and stuff. And I got this big hat and put it on, and I had a big.
Are we talking like a cowboy hat?
No, this was like a big old woman's hat that she'd be doing her gardening in. Had a big old flower up on it and everything. And the rule was.
Please tell me there's a picture of this.
No, well, that was back in the days where we had to hammer it out into stone. But the rule is that whoever got to something first, they had the opportunity to play. Well, I made it to that hat first, but I had to give up that hat to the little girl because she screamed that that was a girl's hat. Well, that's just it. I would never want to be a female. I love being a male, but that bothered me when I was that young, that I could not have that hat, and I had to give it up because that wasn't the rule. The rule wasn't that you had to be a female. The rule was that you had to beat them. So I beat them. I was the first one to that hat.
Wait, so you beat a woman to a hat to get a hat? I'm only messing with you, Brian.
Well,
I had to throw that out there after the whole Antifa charge.
I'm honest with you. I didn't care who it was behind me in second place. The fact was that I was reaching for was that I was to be the first one there, and I was the first one there. But I had to give up my hat and give it to the next person in line because she was a female, and that was wrong. Sexism against me back in the early 1970s.
Now, if time travel ever becomes possible, that's one moment in time that I think I'll have to go back and visit.
Well, there's also the following years when the very first time I ever got my mouth washed out with soap, and I think it was the first grade.
Okay, I think that happened to me once or twice. I don't have any vivid recollection of it, but I do remember at least one time.
As far as I know, my sister is the only kindergartner to ever be suspended from school.
Oh, wow. So your whole family is like, you come from a long line of badasses.
Yeah.
Troublemakers.
My sister used to carry a blue jean pocketbook. There's little bitty, just going by memory, you could probably only put a pack of cigarettes in it as of today. That's how small it was. But she did not like her brother being picked on. So my sister went out and she got a rock that fit perfectly in her pocketbook, and she put it in there. And my sister got in trouble for hitting older guys with her pocketbook that was nothing but one big rock in there.
Oh my God.
I always remember that memory about my sister. But
now, while we're on the topic of equality and special treatment or treating people differently, in the news this week, of course, is continuing the whole Brett Kavanaugh hearing for the Supreme Court, and this woman that came out of the woodwork after 40 years after allegedly being, I guess, assaulted or pressured or something back in the early 1980s. I don't think she even knows exactly when it was. And all these, I was listening to I think she's a senator from Hawaii last night, who was saying that basically men need to just,
shut up
and
shut up, and a woman made this accusation, so she deserves to be believed.
Exactly.
Like women.
No evidence. No. The burden of proof doesn't lie on the accuser.
People like that do more damage to. That's the reason. I'm sure there's going to be some people that are not going to like what I got to say right now. But this
big surprise.
This MeToo movement. That's the reason why the majority of it is a fraud. Just like this, like the national anthem protesting, it's just like the Me Too movie. It's a smoke screen to show that make people. It's a facade that you actually care about the issue, but you ignore something that's causing 97% of the problem. Women do not, but look, men are not guilty of misdeeds just because a woman made the accusation against them. That is textbook sexism. That I'm automatically guilty because if a woman, in this Me Too movement, A woman can come and make an accusation against me, even though I'm an openly gay man, can make an accusation against me. And these people's version of the rules that we need to be following is that I am automatically guilty of sexually assaulting a woman, even though I'm openly gay and have been all my life. That is exactly the rules that this Hawaiian senator is asking for some people to follow. It's ridiculous.
And it's not just her, but generally speaking, even Hillary Clinton, I think, or Chelsea Clinton, came out and said that, the woman deserves to be believed because she's a woman.
Yeah.
It's
a crock of shit. I mean, that's what it is. And it needs to be called that. Men are just as responsible for this as the women making the accusations, because if we're going to sit here and allow our sex to be condemned like that, it's we deserve it, in my opinion. Yeah,
it's just another example of people claim to want equality. The feminists and the MeToo like people want equality, but they don't want equality. They want it's like special treatment. They want to be treated differently because like they're a woman.
It's like this Hawaiian senator is saying that all of a sudden, just because she's a female, that our American rights all of a sudden are eroded away. That in this country, it is the responsibility of the accuser to provide every bit of evidence against the accused. And we, as the accused, or whoever it is, has the right to face their accuser while they're making those accusations. That is where this is whole flipped around. She's not, they're expecting Brett Kavanaugh to defend himself against something that never happened.
Yeah, he has to prove his innocence.
He has to prove his innocence. No, in this country, the prosecution, the accuser, proves the guilt.
Yeah, it's just another example of the insane times that we live in.
A lot of people want to compare what's going on with Brett Kavanaugh to Roy Moore, and I don't see any comparisons there because Roy Moore contributed to his own demise. There was not a clear cut. I didn't know her. Brett Kavanaugh is actually saying he does not even know her. He is disputing even being at this alleged party that this lady is saying that this incident happened at. Whereas, Roy Moore was in situations where he, like with the yearbook, he did sign the yearbook. Okay, he did sign this lady's yearbook. She added to that, but the fact is he knew her. There was a connection with a lot of Roy Moore cases. Whether they were true or whether they weren't is another story. But he did have interaction with these people. There is absolutely nothing connecting this woman to Brett Kavanaugh other than this woman saying that it happened. There is absolutely no evidence other than she went to the same prep school. From what I'm understanding, she was at the girls' version and he was at the boys' version. And how that came to be at this party, I don't know. But he denies even being at this party where she claimed it happened. This woman has so much memory that she remembers in great detail that she feared for her life, that she feared that he was getting ready to kill her. I have, like I've mentioned once before in several videos, I've had a pistol put in my mouth. You don't forget details like that. You know what I'm saying? So whenever you bring up the fact that you felt like you were getting ready to die, you remember the facts that were right before that event, and you remember the facts right after that event. It just doesn't go, your mind goes blank to this point in the hour, and then all of a sudden, while you think you're being killed, you've got perfect clarity, and then after that, all of a sudden, you can't remember everything again. It does not work that way. That's the reason this woman is a liar.
Well,
and then she's a psychology professor out of California. I can't think of a bigger textbook version of example of a liar than a psychology professor out of California. You know,
And I think that most people kind of see what's going on and are getting tired of, these sorts of allegations being just another tool in the playbook of the Democrat Party.
The people that better be paying attention to what's going on is those Republican senators that are sitting up in that room. Because if they fall for this bullshit again, they are going to pay one hell of a price on November 6th. Because not only am I sick and tired of these unpatriotic traitor Democrats up in the Senate, I'm also getting sick of these Republicans that are not going to have a damn backbone to defend people against these blatant lies. They will pay a price in November.
Well, I guess we'll do the best we can to just get North Carolina Republicans elected in November and trust that things will work out in the end. But it is frustrating to see this kind of stuff going on.
Well, from what I understand with the Kavanaugh hearings and vote, Chuck Grassley, the Republicans, the Democrats said that this woman deserves a chance to be heard. She's made an accusation.
She doesn't want to testify, though.
And her attorney said that she would testify. Okay, well then the Republicans accommodated that request, given her and him the opportunity to be there Monday to testify before Congress. They even gave her the opportunity to do this in public or private. And she said, all weekend long, that's all we heard is, oh, she's willing to testify. She's going to be there. The story's coming out. The truth's going to be told. You saw all the damn Democrats on that committee marching up a hill with the banners and everything. She's ready to tell her story. And now when we give them the opportunity, she folds. That's the reason this vote needs to go on. We've already set the thing for the hearing for them to testify on Monday, so that needs to go forward. Judge Kavanaugh has agreed that he wants to clear his name. He should still be given the same opportunity to clear his to defend his integrity, to say whether this lady shows up or not. And after that, there should be a vote immediately. I can't hear you.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see next week what happens between now and then, and we'll know what's going on with the whole Kavanaugh thing and this lady who is making these accusations. But I think it's just another example of the hypocrisy of the feminists and people who claim to be about equality but really want special treatment.
Yeah, they're taking the feminists are taking opened up the liberal LGBT playbook and are playing it to a T.
All right, so we've discussed the hurricane, we've discussed the roadside rally, the Kavanaugh thing. We kind of went off track on the whole Boy Scout, Cub Scout thing, whatever. Anything else going on this week, Brian, that you can think of?
No.
I guess this episode, and I apologize for the sound quality. I think that we're probably both not sounding as good as we normally would be. There's still flooding and stuff going on out where you are. Are there power outages still? Are there cable lines and stuff down still?
Yeah, there's a big section of Albemarle right on Lake Tillery that is without power still, and they did lose a lot of trees in that area. So a lot of even though it's like lakefront property, it's very heavily wooded, and so, and with the power lines, it's just a mess down in there. So they're the only people in our county, I think, that are still without power. I think Mecklenburg actually has quite a few people that are still without power. From what I read, that power should be fully restored to everyone in Mecklenburg County by 10 p.m. tomorrow night. And
that'll be good.
I think they're going to wait and make a decision on schools here in my area this afternoon. So like I said, these even though the remnants of Florence is already up in the main area now, there's still a tail section of this storm that is still stretching all the way down into the mountains of North Carolina. So it's still raining in the mountains of North Carolina because of the system. And all that rain that is going to come back down through our streams and our rivers. And like I said, all of our rivers down here in the south central and eastern North Carolina are already above flood stage right now. So when this rain comes in from the mountains, it may be a different story tomorrow. So they're going to, like I said, they're going to make decisions on schools here. But like I said, we're strong, proud people here in North Carolina and South Carolina. And we've dealt with this before, and we've always come out ahead, and we're going to do it again. Like I said, we're Carolina strong, and just you get to see the best in people after these type of events. You get to see neighbors actually coming out and helping neighbors. So one thing that the liberal media doesn't want to show. I've seen some very, very deceptive. I got to experience it here. Seen some very deceptive reporting by news stations coming down here, and anybody, I don't care what side of the aisle you stand on, if you come down to a disaster area and you try to stage something of the misery and that the people are going through, and you take it really personal when you see it as people that are your neighbors that are being taken advantage of by these liberal media, it's disgusting. And I think it's very important for us to like show those pictures of those people, just like pictures of seeing reporters standing in waist deep water and stuff. When 2 feet away from them is dry land, but yet they want to get out into the middle of up into waist deep water like they're some type of hero. You know, they're no hero. I mean, they're coming in here staging all this stuff, and it's disgusting, and it stuff like that needs to be called out.
All right, guys, the internet connection, I think, because of the storm, is probably not the best. So we apologize if the audio quality isn't quite what it should be or what it's been in previous episodes. Hopefully things will be up and running full capacity by next week. But anything else before we sign off, Brian?
No, I just look forward to seeing everybody at the Roadside Rally and Indian Trail, and come out, have a good time with other MAGA patriots.
You can find out more information about that on the deplorablepride.org Facebook page. You can also find it at Carolinas for Trump on Facebook. And if you want to help out, if you want to donate and help make activism in the Carolinas and beyond possible, your contributions do make that possible. You can do so by visiting www.deplorablepride.org. There's a donate button up at the top, and your donations will go towards equipment, materials, supplies, and making the sort of video activism that you see on the videos on Facebook possible and allow us to continue to grow. We've done events in Winston-Salem now, Concord. We're branching out to other parts of the Carolinas, and would love to get people from outside of the Carolinas even to get them involved, help them get up and running, whether it's a roadside rally or a protest for Bill Maher or Kathy Griffin or those sorts of people. Your donations do make that possible and will continue to allow us to grow. So it certainly is appreciated. And I think that's probably all we've got this week. We're still recovering from the storm and waiting for the area to get back up and running like normal. But we'll be back next week, and we will have more updates on some of the stuff we've discussed, and there will be new news, I'm sure. We'll have updates on upcoming events as we get closer and closer to the midterms. And I think that's pretty much all I got this week, Brian. Any last words from you?
Hopefully by the time next week, we'll have a new Supreme Court justice.
We can keep our fingers crossed. So until next time, this is Chris O'Shea with Carolinas for Trump.
And Brian Talbot with Deplorable Pride.
Saying, free the weed.
Free the weed.